Peace and love, you beautiful wonders of spiritual level of being. Nathan here from Spiritual Level of Being, and you have a spiritual level of being. And on this walking, talking philosophy, we're going to be discussing light work versus shadow work. Now, a lot of people associate the shadow self or the shadow work with evil, associating the ego with evil. This is not necessarily true. As the shadow self, your ego can be the side of you that likes to play pranks on your friends. It can be you having a cigarette or a cigar with your friends, a joint, a beer. It can be you listening to rock and roll, the side of you that likes listening to rap or likes to rap here and here. But sometimes our ego, our shadow self, engages in what we would call the lower self, the lower level of being, unconsciously acting in this lower self, unconsciously not aware. So when you become more aware and start doing the light work, this is when you do shadow work. You confront these negative archetypes of yourself. You confront your own shadow. You confront your inner demons. And from there, you're converting them into more loving, self-affirming affirmations. Now, this is alchemy. This is magic. Now, when we engage in certain habits, whether good or bad, this is also magic. Sitting around all day, if you've got in a routine of being a sloth, magic. You going for a walk like I am now here, magic. Now, this is about changing your perspective. Now, when you do the shadow work, people associate it with destroying the ego, but no, your ego is your center of consciousness. It's not necessarily bad. Now, it's what gives us this whole me, but it's what recognizes us as individuals. Now, a lot of people consider demons and angels as a supernatural force outside of themselves, not realizing that we are the angels and the demons, and these aspects lie within us. Now, when we choose to engage in more positive, self-affirming, loving actions, doing kind work, helping others, this is engaging in light work. So the goodness working through us. So the angels or demons being us, also within us. So I also believe that angels are also our previous past lives and our loved ones that are integrating with us, as everything is mental, everything's of the mind. Now, so within this mind, cosmic mind of God that you are connected to, this means that you're connected to the angels, you're connected to the source, energy itself. Now, this means when those you love pass on, they are still living on within your memories. So within this force of life, I believe it's very possible for you to receive affirmations from beyond. And this is also what I would consider in Gnosticism. As we are all divine, we contain with us the divine spark. Now, we all have our own connection to God. We all have our own interpretation of Gnosis. Now, together we make up the cosmic mind of God, as we are the part of God that we understand. We are emanations of God in the physical form. So when we become more self-aware and we engage in more loving activities, as we realise that all life is connected, that when we do harm to someone else, we're doing harm to our own self. We have a much more kinder society if one chooses to engage in this way of thought. Now, with Gnostics, we consider what is classified as evil and good as man-made concepts. Now, not all Gnostics have this view, but I'm one of this view that is of the mind. It's what we consider to be good and evil. This is why many Gnostics would decondition themselves from the world in order to separate themselves from the material world, in order to be more closer to the authentic self and the spiritual realm, thus no longer having to reincarnate. Now, I personally believe that we continue to have multiple lifetimes until the soul has nothing left to learn, until it's achieved its experience and it's realized its inner potential, it's discovered the Christ within, and it no longer seeks to reincarnate unless it chooses to do so in order to bring light to the world, or say another world. Who knows? No one knows this answer. But we all have our own spiritual knowledge within, our own deeper connection. Now, when we do the shadow and light work, we are in turn able to be more authentic. And what we do naturally. And this involves good. Now, we're all Gnostic and agnostic from time to time, as Gnostic means to know, and agnostic means you don't know. So, with this engaged, we all have our own interpretation of Gnosis, spiritual knowledge. Now, there's a difference between man Gnosis and divine Gnosis. So, spiritual knowledge of man, spiritual knowledge of the divine. knowledge of man, knowledge of the divine. So the divine knowledge that lies within is not this outside judgment or concept that us as humans have created. Now, we do naturally know what is good, as this is our deeper connection to God. So when one does the light work, one understands this. They understand their connection to Mother Earth, they understand their connection to the universe, their connection to the divine, that they themselves can be like Christ, to be like Buddha, to be like Thoth, to be like Hermes, Trismegistus, if you will. Now, again, it's about being the best version of you that you can be, and this is what light work and shadow work engages us to do. It's what the spirit leads us to, as it's always seeking more authentic, higher levels of experiences. So it's seeking higher levels of journeys. So seeking higher levels of consciousness, the evolution of the mind. So evolution isn't just the physical world, but it's also that of the mental world. Now, this involves the spiritual world. So this is why our minds have continued to evolve. It's our connection. Now, I'm not just talking about the human brain, which is a wonderful machine. I'm talking about the mind itself, which is the soul, if you will. So you're a collection of thoughts. Everything is mental. So this soul, this inner oracle, your inner voice, some say it's a quiet, gentle voice of knowing that many of us push aside without reflecting on. Now, we have this deep understanding, a deep knowledge. This is why we have the different sides of our brain that engage and compete with one another in order to have the main dominance of what we are thinking. So take the time to engage with yourself, to listen to yourself. Even time out in nature to listen to yourself can teach you so much. Now, we see in the teachings of the Bible, of Jesus, he himself went through shadow work and light work. His message of doing good, sharing with the people, was the light work, bringing gnosis to the world, knowledge, spiritual knowledge, helping others aware of their own divinity to seek their own personal relationship with the divine. Now, when he was fasting, confronting his inner demons, this is what they said Satan tried to tempt him. This is involving the shadow self, the shadow work. So, not engaging in the shadow, but rather processing it into forms of love, knowledge for the greater good, light work. Now, we even see a similar story with Buddha when he was fasting. So this was involved not just from food, but fasting from the world, fasting from the negative archetypes of the world's corruption. So engaging in the purer, more authentic self, light work and shadow work. Oh, it's a beautiful thing, baby. Now, when one engages in light work, they realise they don't have to be rich or poor to be able to do good things, to do great things. You can do small things great. Now, again, this comes from the side of self-love, loving others, unconditional love, doing the inner work, doing the light work. As you see yourself carrying the light and you shine bright. And if you don't shine bright and carry the light, then you only see darkness and you carry darkness. So when Jesus said those who carry good fruit, that give out good fruit, who compared to ones who give out rotten fruit being bad habits, bad deeds, nothing good to give, good fruit being good things to give, good things for others, good things for themselves, self-love, love for others. So this is why Jesus' teachings was very controversial and not many could understand it, as he was speaking for the little voice for within. So for us to seek it, to seek this divine knowledge, our connection to God, the higher self. So peace and love everyone, I love you all. Connect to one mind and soul. Namaste.